This is a regular monthly meeting of the Princeton Historic Preservation Commission being held electronically via Zoom on August 17th, 2023 at 4 p.m. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place and agenda of this meeting has been transmitted to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, The Times, Trentonian, and filing a copy with the clerk of Princeton, who has posted it to the municipal website, www.princetonnj.gov/meetings. All right, thank you, everyone. Do you want to take the roll, Elizabeth?
Yes. Ms. Capizoli,
I'm here.
Mr. Endersby, he'll be absent. Ms. Satterfield, Mr. Shore,
I am here.
Mr. Shatskin,
Here.
Ms. Howard,
Here.
Mr. Pyle, Ms. Lewandowski,
Here.
Ms. Friedman. We have a quorum.
All right, we have 3 sets of minutes, which I appreciate. The first set of minutes is from August 15th, 2022. Just wondering if anyone had any changes or corrections. If not, would someone like to move to approve those minutes? I think I can look at who attended
Yeah,
that day.
we have David, Frida, Roger.
Great. So if any of you want to move to approve those minutes. Okay, thanks, Frida. Thanks, Roger. So Frida moved, Roger seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 I abstain. I wasn't at the meeting. I was
Okay.
wasn't at the meeting that the minutes are up.
Right. Anyone opposed? Motion is approved. So thank you. And by the way, Elizabeth, so who did the minutes?
Oh, so this one was done by Julie Moy. She actually does a few, she serves as recording secretary for a few BCCs part-time. She has a full-time job elsewhere, but she's actually been doing a lot of municipal work in the past. So it was great. You know, she
That
just
was great.
watched the video.
That was wonderful. I mean, it's really good. Like, thank you for finding the resources. Really appreciate it. Okay, so the second, and Tom's here so he can vote on the next one. The second set of minutes are from September 19th, 2022. Oh wait, you know what? It says we're in a practice session.
Oh,
Elizabeth,
sorry. I don't know why. Sorry about that.
okay, so we're back in our recorded session. Or it says the webinar has started, but are we recording?
Yeah, it says recording.
Oh, it says so?
On my
Okay.
screen.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, I see it. Okay, got it. The second set of minutes is September 19th, 2022. Elizabeth, can you read? I think it's the same people who are at that meeting.
Yes, so present was Chair Capizoli, Mr. Shore, Ms. Howard, Ms. Lewandowski, Mr. Pyle, and Mr. Shatskin.
Great. Hey, Christine.
Yes, on page 1, on the bottom, under the resolution for 41 HP-2022, it says all in favor by voice vote. Now, I could not, there was a full complement of the board, so I couldn't vote. So that should be corrected.
Um. Okay, I'm just wondering if it's meant like those who are able to vote.
Well, I think it should be clear that I didn't vote.
All right, I'll put in parentheses.
Yeah, I mean, I was not able to because there was a full complement of the board, so I think it should be clear.
Okay, I'll just put that in.
Okay. So I think everyone else was present and if so,
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Under the fifth, 197 Witherspoon Street on the second page. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's correct. I abstained because I couldn't vote again. So it's correct, sorry.
Okay. So
And I
are
have,
there other
yeah.
changes, Christine?
yeah, and I have on page 3 correction, where on the third line on the top paragraph, the new revised applicant.
Wait a minute, Christine, is it the first paragraph or third paragraph on page 2? On page 3?
Page 3, the first paragraph.
Okay,
The new revised application no longer proposes to demolish. I guess that makes sense. All right. On concept review, where it says Vice Chair Shore presided over the meeting, and it instead of at, it should be as
okay.
acting chair.
Just a picky thing, maybe it's a format that I'm not familiar with, but the English throughout here about first moved by Mr. Shore, seconded by Mrs. Satterfield, all in favor by voice vote.
Roger, could you say what page you're on and what paragraph?
A number of the different votes on resolutions. I'm looking specifically first page, the next to the last paragraph. It's just a picky English thing.
So is it the one that says the motion to approve the resolution?
Yeah, there should be some subjects or verbs there or something, but I mean, let it go for now, but let's talk to this person about, you can send her to me and I'll diagram the sentence for her.
So what is it that you would like it changed to?
Well, motion was first moved by Mr. Shad, seconded, the vote was all, the voice vote was all in favor, which should be a separate sentence essentially. You could have a semicolon after the first two clauses and then a separate clause about the vote.
Okay, I'll just put a period after Ms. Satterfield and put all in favor. And
Well, no, the motion was passed by unanimously or something like that. It just needs its own sentence.
Right, except to reflect that I was not able.
all right, so what I'd like to do is, because I don't know,
Getting out of here tonight.
I mean, she's part-time, so she's not going to be responding. What I'd like to do is second by Ms. Satterfield, period. All in favor, start a new sentence. Is that good? And then I can let her know.
Just say the vote was unanimous. The vote was approved
I think
unanimously.
The voice
By
vote,
those who could vote.
Okay, the voice vote was unanimous.
that would work.
Okay, and excluding Christine. Okay, so
So
we'll make-
Roger, do you want to move to approve it amended like that?
Sure, I'll make that motion. And I would let it go until the next set of minutes come through. And we can catch it ahead of time. It's like reading text. The sense is clear, even though it's gobbledygook. Not that all texts are gobbledygook, but Many I receive are. But you know what they mean.
I'll second.
All right,
Okay. So all in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion is carried. All
Mhm.
right, our last set of minutes, February 27th, 2023. I'm pretty sure we were all here.
Let's see, Frida, Charlotte, Christine, Shirley, David, Roger. Yes. Oh. Leighton, could you do me a favor? Shirley called. She was wondering if you could send her the link to get in. She can't get in again.
I'll let her know. I sent it about 10 minutes ago. I'll call her now.
Okay, and Madam Chair, so these minutes were done by Cha-Ching. She worked with Justin on this one. So we have two different people working on our minutes to catch up.
All right, well, we appreciate all the effort. So thank you. Christine,
I have a number of corrections.
okay,
Throughout the document, my name is spelled right and incorrect. And so it should be changed to take the W, the last W out. There's only one W in my name and there's no W between the O and the S at the end. So if that could be changed. And I have some other questions here. On page 7. 1, 2, 3, 5th paragraph, 3rd line. And this is where Maggie Schuler is talking, and it says, and to protect the historic, and characters should be singular, character.
Okay.
This, but can I go to another paragraph? Okay, then in the next paragraph, second to the last line.
Same page?
Same page. Mr. Zink asked how HPC planned to preserve the historic, and it should be character again, no S. And in the next paragraph, talking about Lydia Frank, but she argued that the garage on Markham Street. Now, is that Markham Street? I thought it was Markham Road.
Let me see.
I think it's Markham Road.
So that should be changed.
Markham Road, yes.
Okay. And then on page 8.
Hold on. Okay, page 8.
The second paragraph, which starts with Jake Sage. It says, so he urged the historic committee. Now, I don't know if he used that word or he used commission. If he used the word committee, I guess it should stay there as committee.
Can I
And-
interrupt 1 second? Elizabeth, can
Yes.
you bring Shirley over? Because she's in the attendees.
Okay, let me see.
And then maybe, I don't know who can help, but I'm just working with an iPad, so I'm not so great with hosting.
Oh, yeah, so
Um,
I made Roger a co-host, but I didn't see her. Thank you. What about
Okay,
Christine, if we correct it, just say, instead of someone going back and listening to the recording, say he urged HPC.
Okay,
How's that to consider?
that's great.
hey Shirley, we're just doing the minutes. Oh,
Shirley, you're
Muted.
muted. Okay, then in the next paragraph where it says, which it starts with Scott Blandford. The third line says that this proposed building is a giant compared to the surrounding, and I think it needs a noun, it needs buildings, surrounding buildings.
Okay.
And in the next paragraph that starts with Eric G. Last line, it says he hoped that there was a way to relocate and downsize. And he has those affordable housing. Those should be the.
Okay,
And then. That's it. Thank you.
So is Christine able to move the minutes? She voted, right?
Yes,
Okay,
I am. I move to accept these minutes
as amended.
as corrected, sorry.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, thanks, Roger. All in favor, please say aye.
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 I just,
Opposed?
I just want to point the fact that, Tom wasn't at that meeting, so he has to abstain.
Okay,
Abstain.
all right, we'll put that in. All right, we're gonna move on to our 3 resolutions. The first resolution is for 974 Mercer Road, Paradise Solar Energy. That resolution was sent out this morning. So I hope everybody got to see it.
I think that those were sent out Friday or last week, Julie. I think that 180 was sent out today.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, I'm confusing it with 180. My apologies, right. That was out last week. So does anyone have any changes or corrections to that resolution?
I just have a question.
Okay,
I don't remember the subcommittee being picked, which it does say what the subcommittee is consisting of in page 3. However, I have no objection to that subcommittee. So I just wanted to ask if that was actually picked at the meeting, because I didn't recall that.
I mean, I think at the meeting, they just said Alric. I mean, they didn't actually call him a subcommittee.
Okay,
Like working, like the applicant. Now, I was just listening, so I can't actually say anything because I wasn't involved.
okay. Well, it's fine. And if there's no one else has a correction, then I move to accept it.
So I have a question though. On page 2, item number 3, the second line from the bottom on that, it says the solar array is pervious with rainwater flowing through the panels to the ground below. Is that correct? I didn't think that the panels they are pervious? Oh, they are, okay,
Panels themselves are not, but they allow the rain to hit the ground.
right, but not through the panels, right? But it does go through the panels?
No, just around them.
Oh, just around them, okay,
Or slides off of it.
Yeah.
right. But
Not to mess around with the ordinance or the resolution at all, but I can't remember, what's the treatment under them? Is that grass? Is it gravel? Is it sand?
I believe it's,
When I was driving by the other day just to look at it, I was trying to visualize it some more and I couldn't remember what was under each of those
I think
units
it's
or
dirt.
plants.
Yeah, gravel would be pervious, strangely enough, but it is.
In Princeton anyway, right? But if it's just dirt, is there going to be a mess with, that's not our problem, with weeds and grass growing up between it? I don't know.
I don't remember them talking specifically about what the surface was underneath. I think that I was just assuming it was gonna be grass. Since they weren't gonna, I didn't hear them talking about anything else they were gonna do to it.
Right, right. I just trying to figure out what it's going to look like.
You know, Mr. Albano is here.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Should we ask him? Should we bring him over and ask him? To
So
clarify?
it would be Ed's question. question for Ed. I mean, we're not reopening this. I just
That's right.
had a question about it. And he may feel that we shouldn't.
That's correct.
Oh, we could ask him. He could give you the answer if you like.
Well, I would like that, but I don't want to go where we shouldn't go.
Okay. Let me see if I can promote him to panelist. Hi, Richard.
Hi, you're on mute.
Okay, I'll say again, sorry, I was late to the meeting. I apologize. And I know there was a question. I'm happy to answer. The first question, I believe, was about being impervious, and that was correct. The solar modules were deemed to be pervious and does not stop the rain from getting into the ground. And in terms of what's under there, right now it is dirt. It will have to be leveled out, and whether they plant grass or something of that nature, it will be natural.
Oh, that's great.
I imagine they'll want grass under there.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Sure thing.
you.
Sure.
All right, so are there, I think Christine had, wait, did we have a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll approve. I'll move.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, and then I have to abstain on this one. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Who made the first motion?
I did. Tom,
Tom.
Tom.
Thomas. Okay, thank you, Thomas.
Tom will do just fine, please.
Tom,
No need to be so formal, Liz.
Okay, the second application is 92 Wynant Road. Are there any changes or corrections to this application?
Yes, please.
Okay, Christine.
I know, I'm pretty sure I abstained. So I think it should reflect that, and I don't know if I abstain, can I vote to approve the resolution? I guess that's a question for Ed.
And the answer is no.
Okay, thank you.
well, it does say that there was one member who abstained.
Yeah, there is an abstention.
Right, so, no, I thought the resolution was well formatted, and, so is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom. All right,
I don't want to
um,
overdo it today.
yeah. All right, so those eligible, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. All right, this third resolution is for 180 John Street. This is the resolution that came out like around noon or something. And Elizabeth, did you want to say anything before we talk about the resolution?
As far as the resolution goes itself?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think whatever is going on with that, it shouldn't affect the resolution.
Correct.
So even if there's adjustments or that sort of thing, but
I believe that the resolution is strictly related to the meeting.
right, right. So given that, did anyone have any changes if hopefully you got to see it. And if not, would anyone like to move to approve the resolution? So this is 180 John Street.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, thanks, Rita. All right. For those eligible to, I think everyone was there. Everyone was voting. So, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. All right, so that is the end of our resolutions and minutes. Now, we are, I don't know, Elizabeth, do you want to make the announcement about 13 Prospect Avenue, or Ed?
So 13 Prospect Avenue will not be heard today. For those in the public who came to hear that, it will be heard at the August meeting. And my understanding from our discussion is that that meeting is going to, our regular monthly meeting, which it was scheduled for August 21st. We are going to put out a notice saying that our meeting is rescheduled for August 14th. So that application will be heard on that date.
Thank you. All right, so,
Can I
yeah,
just-
Christine.
About the John Street
Yeah.
house, they apparently have built a dormer into the roof, which was not on the plans or approved.
I think there was an issue with the window, but I do think that because the resolution says that they must conform, that's going to be another matter.
Right, I know that. I just wanted to bring it up that it looks like they're in violation again.
Mhm. And Elizabeth's aware of that, and I think is in contact with the owner.
Hmm.
So we keep on trying. So our application today is for 29 Lytle Street, Vision Solar. Can, I think, Elizabeth, are you able to move them over? Are they here?
So if the people who are here for this application could raise their electronic hand, then I can move you over. Oh, okay, thank you. So Ari Linden is being brought over as a panelist.
Okay.
And I believe that she's the attorney for the solar company.
Okay. Oh, I think I see Ari Linden. Ari, do you think you could turn your camera on? There we go. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon.
So we'll just start this application with Elizabeth's report. Elizabeth, you wrote a report dated February 22nd, 2023. I don't know if you have that available.
I do, and I'm happy to go over it. I'm actually going to probably make it really simple. Just to have it on record what the property location and address is, and then probably the applicant's attorney might want to discuss. It's really now more about a violation than it is the application itself. But so the applicant is Vision Solar LLC, and they had filed an application for the property owner for Christine Griffiths Walker pursuant to the Princeton Land Use Ordinance to install new solar panels on the house located on her property. But as we know that these solar panels were installed prior to them being heard by us or receiving any type of permits from building or zoning. The site is identified as 29 Lytle Street. It's further known as block 15.02 lot 70 on the Princeton tax map. It is in the R4 zone of the former borough. And the property sits within a residential neighborhood in the Witherspoon Jackson Historic District and is known as the Witherspoon Jackson Historic District on the municipal zoning overlay map of historic preservation districts and buffer districts. This property is designated on the overlay as type 2. And I believe in the report, there was an attachment of the White's Preservation Inventory that was performed in 2015. This property sits adjacent to the Mary Moss Playground, so it's the second property from the corner of John Street. As mentioned, the solar panels are already installed. At the time that the report was written, there were certain questions. One was the height of the panels. What is the height of the panels on the roof? The town requirement is that it cannot be higher than 6 inches. So we would like the applicant's representative to state what that height is. It looks like it is a little bit higher. And the solar panels that were installed, we'd also like for them to confirm that those are the same styles that were submitted as part of their application. So I think that that's just kind of sets it up, Madam Chair. Unless you
Okay.
guys-
I guess I'll turn it over to Mr. Linden, if you want to address Elizabeth's memo and anything else you want to say.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Ari Linden, I'm General Counsel for Vision Solar. I wasn't aware about the height, so I'm working on getting the answer to that. Panels themselves typically are not more than 6 inches, but I think you're including, when you say height, you mean height from the roof, essentially, right? Not just how thick is the panel itself.
Right, it's from the roof to the very top of the panel.
Of the
itself.
panel, right. So I'm asking my building manager now, just to get a better feel, but the average would be more in the 7 to 8 inch range when you include the racking. So the racking sits usually about 1 inch off of the roof, and then the panel is typically 5 to 6 inches. So I would say they likely are in excess of the 6 inch requirement, but I can represent that it's not going to be higher than 8 inches. I'm looking for an actual answer, but I'm going off of the historical, averages. That's the way. Racking's about 1 inch, panels are about 5 inches, and then there's sort of just a small gap between. That's basically another inch. So you're really at about 7 inches, roof to top. That's as far as that goes. As far as the panels that were installed, yes, the panels that are installed match the permits that were submitted post notice. This was obviously not, you didn't ask, but I looked into it because non-permit installs are not something that I like. So I was trying to understand exactly how that came to be, and it basically was just a scheduling error. They put this install on the schedule before the permits had been received in-house, and I don't even think before they were applied for, frankly. And so obviously that's how we end up here, right? Because if they had applied for the permits, we would have found out that we were in the historical zone and we would have dealt with it accordingly. So we're basically like, I think Ms. Kim mentioned, this is more of a beg for forgiveness than a request for us to move forward, because obviously this has already happened. So are there any other concerns you have with regard to the actual installation? I believe otherwise all permits have now been received with the exception of this approval. And the system is more or less ready to move forward. We just need final approval here, so we can have final inspection.
I think Chris, now, Elizabeth, you brought up something about fire safety in your memo. If our building department approved it, would that satisfy that
The building
requirement
department,
or?
yes, and I had talked to them prior to the first schedule in the meeting. They said that there is a shut off sometimes, that it does have some problems, but it's usually farther down the line, and they feel that some technology is advancing on that. But I do want to clarify what Mr. Linden had said. There actually are no permits that were issued yet. There's no zoning permit and there's no building permit, because since it's an historic preservation district, they won't issue it until they receive one for us. So,
Gotcha. So applied for, not received. Understood. Okay. They have been submitted though. That was my understanding. But yeah, that would make sense. They're obviously subject to this approval. So.
Okay, well, I want to open this up to all the commission members for questions to Mr. Linden about the installation. I know we've all seen it, so I think, I don't know, Roger, did you have a picture of that? I think there was, yeah, you're on mute, Roger.
Yeah, I have to go through my phone roll and I'm not
Oh,
sure.
okay, yeah, maybe that would take too long. Elizabeth?
yeah, so if I could just say a little bit more about the installation. Obviously, I saw the installation when I was doing the report, and it is shielded on, I'm trying to see the direction, on the west side, which is facing John Street, because of just the configuration and the other structures that are able to block it. There is more visibility on the east side versus the west. And I believe, I'm sorry, it's been such a long time since I've seen this application, but I believe that much of the solar panels were towards the back of the building. So I believe that this probably is more about the installation prior to receiving approval, which we know that is a problem. And just so Mr. Linden knows, and I'm probably sure they did not share it with you, but the representative at Vision Solar had told me that it happens often that they will install it without the permits. So we don't like to hear that, especially in Princeton. We have to, constantly pull people in for violations. And this is a problem when we think it's something that, is going to be reviewed prior to the installation. So I think you can understand how the commission feels when something is installed and they haven't had an opportunity to comment on it.
Obviously, I don't know who would say that, because that's clearly not our procedure, but that's fine. I mean, that is not intentionally done and certainly not done all the time, but that's just to clear the record a little bit, but sure.
Okay, Christine, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I just wondered if the height, since Mr. Linden doesn't know what the height is, and if it is higher than 6 inches, does that constitute a variance?
Well,
It's,
I just did get verification from Mike Sweeney, who is our VP.
I asked this of Elizabeth. Is that?
Well, I was going to give you information that they are below 6 inches. So I just confirmed with Mike Sweeney. He just pulled up the records. These are 4-inch panels with 1 inch of racking plus that small gap. So they are 6 inches or lower.
Okay, so again, Ms. Kim, if it's higher than 6, it would have be a variance.
correct. Yes, you would have to go to the
It would
zoning
have
board.
had to go to the zoning board.
Correct.
I just want to point out that people have to keep to that minimum or maximum. Okay, thank you.
Of course.
All right, thank you. Tom?
Yes, Attorney Linden, thank you very much for coming in today. We appreciate all you're doing to help advance solar here at Princeton. Can I just ask, so I understand the scope of your business? You're in 7 or 8 states and you have 2 offices, not 1, in the state of New Jersey. What percentage of your business is in the state of New Jersey, may I ask?
It fluctuates, but it's, right now, I think it's roughly 50% New Jersey
50.
and then spread around
All right.
New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
All right,
Which we
well, that-
kind of consider, which we kind of consider as one region because
Right.
we operate them both out of Blackwood.
Blackwood.
And then we have the
Yeah.
North Jersey office as well, but Blackwood's where I am now. It's the main office, but it's about
Good.
50% PA Jersey and then smaller percentages scattered around.
Well, that's helpful to know because that would imply that you are very familiar indeed with all the peculiarities of working in New Jersey towns, I suppose. Would you agree?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, and your website does talk about the extensive collaboration you provide to customers in terms of your permitting. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So I just wanted to put those things into context for us.
Understood.
All right, thank you. Are there other questions or comments about this application? Any other discussion points? So I believe these panels, yeah, Ed.
Julie, as the board's attorney, I would suggest that there be a condition in this resolution, if it's approved, that if there is another installation of a solar array by this applicant without permits, that that solar array would have to be removed. I don't think we can worry about it or do it after the fact. And I think this applicant's on notice that they need to get the permits. And if they're not gotten for another job, without any further, mea culpas, I think the applicant should know they have to remove the panels.
All right, Shirley.
Yes, is this the house that they postponed about 2 times?
Yeah, this is the one where they were gonna come in
February.
March, April, May.
And is the house located on the corner of John
No.
and where is it located?
No, this is on a Lidle.
Right, I know, it's not on the corner of Lytle
No,
and John, it's,
It's next to the, I think it's next to the house that's gonna be the veterans.
oh, okay, I know where you are.
You know
Next to
what-
the American Legion, yes.
You know what's next to Shirley is the Habitat for Humanity's house. The Habitat for Humanity's
No,
house.
but it's across the street.
It's on the left. No, it's like there's Mary Moss Playground on the corner of John
Uh-huh.
Street. There's a Habitat and then there's this property. So it's actually the 3rd property in. Not the second. I was incorrect.
So it's
sorry.
from the second house, that's the Habitat for Humanity house.
Yes, and this
Right.
is the one to the right of it.
Okay.
All right. Are there other questions or comments? And given what Ed said for the resolution, does anyone have a motion?
Julie, we should probably open it up to the public, see if any neighbors want to testify.
Oh, so sorry, you're right. Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment? Please raise your hand electronically. You see anyone?
No hands are raised.
Okay. Going once, going twice?
All right, I'll
No.
try to form this. Noting that we have an irregular process here, but wishing that we want to, as always, advance the good intentions of the owners and the solar community and so on, I move that we approve this subject to the clause that Ed had articulately noted, so that we can move this on.
All right, thanks, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roger, thank you. Elizabeth, do you think you can call the roll, please?
Of course. Ms. Satterfield,
Yes.
Mr. Shatskin,
Yes,
Ms. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Pyle,
Yes,
Ms. Lewandowski,
Yes.
Mr. Shore, Ms. Capizoli,
Yes. Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
All
Have a
right,
great day. Thank you.
thank you. All right. And as we reminded everybody, we were gonna hear at 13 Prospect Avenue, but that has been delayed until August 14th. So we're moving on to other matters, which is the Witherspoon Street Improvements Project, Phase 3. And I think if Ed wants to go, I think he's free to go. We'll see you in August.
early tea time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ed.
Get him straight, Ed.
So we sent a preliminary memo to the engineering or to the State Historic Preservation Office about supporting the concept of the changes for the Witherspoon Street Phase 3 work. But Elizabeth, maybe you want to go into more of the process.
of course. So engineering had submitted to the HPC Witherspoon Street Subcommittee a concept plan that was generated by TNM, who is a municipal consultant for this municipal project. And we are at Phase 3, which is Franklin to Valley Road, or almost at Valley Road. And the concept plan, and it was attached, I apologize, it went late today, but it was attached, and it shows basically the configuration of the street, the sidewalk, and again, it is very conceptual. And HPC subcommittee's review felt that it was consistent with what they had with Phase 2, which went from Green to Franklin. Again, the details of the sidewalk, the details of the lighting, the details of the crossing table, the street lights and things like that were not provided, but they believe that it will be consistent what was in Phase 2. The only other thing that is going to be different in this, which the subcommittee had discussed, is where to stop the decorative sidewalk. And I believe that it was determined that it was going to stop at Witherspoon Lane on the east side, and it would continue to the old Princeton Packet property on the west side. And then from there to Valley Road, the sidewalk will be concrete. And they felt it important for the Witherspoon Jackson Historic District to be identified and have a special treatment, which they had in Phase 2. So they felt that it should be carried out to those areas and be specific to historic delineation. So
And can you remind me, is John Street gonna also get that treatment?
what do you mean, John Street?
Well, like, I mean, we're going down Witherspoon, but in like another phase or something?
You mean, is it going to be going down the side streets?
Yeah,
You know, I know at one time that engineering had, I think some of the neighborhood had asked at one of the public meetings at the Arts Council whether this same treatment was going to go internal. And he did say yes, although that was not a discussion that HPC had talked about. And again, you know, we don't know what the budget's going to be like, you know, because the budget is always kind of what drives the design. So I haven't had a discussion I just happened to hear that comment at that one meeting when someone had asked.
Okay, so we don't know if there will ever be money for sidewalk treatments on the side streets. Like, Green or Quarry or John Street, or, John Street's not a side street, but
Right.
anyway.
Right, and I think that probably HPC would think anything internal should be consistent, that it wouldn't just be one street and not the other.
Right.
Julie, you're talking about all of John Street, not necessarily the side streets. Is that correct? You're
Right,
talking
well,
about going
I
down
was-
John Street, like
I
you
mean,
do
right-
going down Witherspoon Street?
Well, right now, they're only talking about Witherspoon Street and no other streets.
I got you.
So, yeah, I was kind of wondering if maybe down the road, if they would have considered doing that sidewalk treatment in the whole district.
Right. That's a good question, because Witherspoon Street, now that it's a popular street and it's a growing town, they're fixing that, but they don't have that much traffic on John Street, but it still needs to be respected, just like Witherspoon Street is respected in the Witherspoon Jackson community. So I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you.
And, Shirley, I guess we never know how busy John Street might get, depending on.
But
how-
it doesn't make any difference. It's still in the Witherspoon Jackson community, and it's busy on Witherspoon Street because that's the one that they travel. And that's where it's a walkable Princeton and a bicycles, but we should get the same respect on John Street as they have on Witherspoon Street,
Agreed.
whether people travel or not. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because we've been neglected for so long, it would be good to have it also on John Street.
Well, and John Street is pretty busy, frankly.
It will be busy when all these people move in this town. Yeah, it will be.
Late night, yeah.
I mean, I just want to say as a resident, it would be great to have the same application on Witherspoon Street, on John Street. But I mean, at least for the discussion today and for the foreseeable future, I think we should concentrate on what we're doing on Witherspoon Street. And, we'll get to John Street, but right now the focus is on Witherspoon Street. We will look to generating historical quality and integrity, I think, on the streetscape throughout the entire neighborhood. But as Elizabeth pointed to, that will probably come with maybe more of the infrastructure dollars that the Biden administration is putting down, or some future grants that we'll be able to do for the community.
Layton,
Well,
you're absolutely correct, but the
we'll get
question
there.
that Julie asked is, will they do it at one time? We know it can't be done right away, but it is asked, will it be done in the future?
Or like
mean-
it's on a list or something.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Julie.
It's on a wish list, Shirley, and we'll get after it, we will.
No, I know that, but I was just backing what Julie was saying, that in the future, it would be good if John Street could also get the same respect.
So one of the things that I liked about the concept review is that it's adding some greenery back into the street. Like there's just nothing in that section of Witherspoon. There's hardly any trees, there's hardly any grass. Like it's just been paved completely. So it looks like they're adding some trees and grass back into that area. I mean, it looks like from the concept review. So anyway, we wrote a memo asking for lots of details, but that we thought the concept was a good one. And
Julie, would it perhaps, sorry for the interruption, but would it be helpful? I mean, I would be more than willing to ask, we have Ian on the call now, but Ian is new. He's just getting his feet wet. If this body would like to know more, if you want more specificity with regard to the future plans of the historic district, the Witherspoon Jackson Historic District, or for that matter, any information that you think is important, I certainly am willing to have Justin and or Deanna or Jim, you know, come to one of our meetings so that they can share information with you and you can ask them questions directly. If that would be helpful, please just let me know. It's only a ask away.
Okay, great. Well, I think we've got discussions that are going to happen again about the Nassau Street improvements. Because I think those are getting another look. You know, we started talking about that maybe what, 5-6 years ago?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
I just want to say and acknowledge, I know that at times there's a tug of war between the vision that a municipal elected government has and the people that they entrust to preserve planning, to preserve history, master planning. And, you know, what I want to offer this board is full transparency from the municipal government level, and especially from the municipal staff, because believe it or not, municipal staff drive a lot of this infrastructure. And I think it would be helpful for both the staff and for this board to have greater connectivity and a greater understanding of both roles and the direction that both want to go into. And we can, I just want to put that out there, and we can, you know, talk offline. I can talk offline to Elizabeth or whoever else. But I don't want there to be, you know, any lack of understanding that what we are fully looking for is transparency. And, you know, we realize we have very gifted people and passionate people on this board, and I don't want you to feel disenfranchised at all.
well, thanks, Layton. So yeah, I'm sure, you know, we look forward to being part of the discussion for Nassau Street again. And, you know, hopefully we'll all find something that'll work. So Elizabeth, as far as the timeline goes for the Witherspoon Phase 3, is that going to be starting soon?
I know that the T&M and the engineering department had submitted their applications to the state office for review, and that's why they needed our memo. But again, it was just a concept, and we do have the more detailed ones that are available. I think I sent the subcommittee an email that they're ready to be picked up for them, you know, for you guys to look at it. And if you want to pick it up at the same time that we schedule a meeting, that's fine too. Just let me know what you'd like to do, but they are at the office or whenever you want to pick it up. I don't have a date, but I'm sure it's always sooner than we think it's going to be as far as the schedule for construction. I don't have a refined date yet, but again, if you want a date, we can always ask Deanna and Jim to come in.
Okay, great. All right. Well, is there anything else on that? Otherwise, we do have Christine and Alex from Sustainable Princeton here, and they're going to give us a presentation on community solar, which I'm very excited to hear about. So I'm glad I let them know we're going to be here early. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Hi.
So thanks so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. I guess we'd all really like to hear about community solar, what it does, and what we can tell people that might not be able to use solar panels on their houses, you know, other opportunities.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having us come to present. Thanks to Roger for helping to set this up. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the executive director at Sustainable Princeton, and I'm really pleased to have Alex join me in presenting today. She just joined our team on July 3rd as our new program manager, and we're really excited to have her. She's going to focus on our initiatives to promote more energy efficiency, more renewable energy, and sustainable transportation initiatives in our town. So we have a slideshow. I'm going to share my screen.
Great.
So a little bit about Sustainable Princeton, if you're not familiar with us, we are a 501c3. Last year was our 10-year anniversary as a nonprofit, and our mission is to inspire community to develop and implement solutions that positively impact our environment. And about 2 years ago, we underwent a strategic planning process where we determined that there are 3 focus areas where we think we can help fill a gap in our community. And the first one is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in our built environment and helping our town to switch to sustainable transportation methods. The second is resiliency against climate change. Those are initiatives that help our community be more prepared for the impacts of climate change. And our last area of focus is protecting the local ecosystem. We have a lot of great organizations and nonprofits in our town that are being stewards of our open spaces, like Friends of Princeton Open Space, DNR Greenway, Friends of Harringtown Woods. Town is also very fortunate to now have an open space manager, and they're doing a great job of stewarding our open and green spaces. But there's no one really leading the effort when it comes to private properties, homeowners' yards, the grounds that businesses and other institutions manage in our town. So those are our 3 focus areas. And this came about after the heels of the town adopting its climate action plan. There are many groups in our town that are taking the lead on certain initiatives to help us reach our climate action reduction goals. And these are the areas where we thought Sustainable Princeton has an opportunity to play the lead. So as I mentioned, we have our 3 pillars, but we also work very closely with the municipality and Princeton Public Schools to help them with their individual sustainability goals. And in our climate action plan, which council adopted in the summer of 2019, we have an objective to increase the supply of low carbon, affordable, reliable energy, and a specific task or action item to pursue community solar and to ensure maximum participation of low and moderate income households in our community. And at the time, we knew that community solar was something that the state of New Jersey was going to be implementing, but it was fairly early stages. But I think even then we understood that this was something that would be a key strategy in Princeton, because we are a community that has many historic designated areas, and we also have a lot of trees that we want to protect. And we have a lot of renters, and we'll talk a little bit more about how community solar is ideal for those types of communities and those households. So we knew that community solar was going to be a key strategy just because of the composition of our town. So now I'm going to turn over to Alex, who's going to give the community solar 101.
Yeah, so community solar is a large solar installation where energy generation is financially divided amongst multiple participants called subscribers. So it provides the benefits of solar to those who aren't able to install it maybe at their own houses or in their apartments. So each subscriber will receive billing credits for a section of this large solar array, and we'll get into more detail of this. There's many benefits to community solar, including expanding the access to solar. So this could be renters, it could be those who have more shaded roofs. It could be people who can't get approval for historic Preservation Committee reasons. And it also provides energy savings to the subscribers. We'll see this in our billing examples that I'll show later. It's also a great local generation of clean energy, as well as job creation and workforce development. It creates positive developments on places like brownfield sites or roofs. And then it also reduces those municipal emissions. So why does Princeton want to get themselves involved with community solar? It will help us to reduce the residential electricity as well as the commercial electricity, as businesses can also participate. And then hopefully it will help us to reduce that residential natural gas too, when people switch over from natural gas heating to heating their homes with things like air source heat pumps. And community solar can help for subscribers to save around 10 to 30%. And they also offer projects where low and moderate income residents can even save a higher percentage. So why might someone not want to consider community solar? Maybe because rooftop solar can be more beneficial. Rooftop solar has the potential to make residents more money, maybe through net metering or eligible for rebates and incentives like those in the Inflation Reduction Act. It also has the potential to increase your home value and increase resiliency. As you could see in the picture to the right, it allows the energy to go to your batteries or to your electric vehicles and your air source heat pumps. So if there's a power outage, the sun is still shining, you're more resilient. And here's a couple of examples in actual Princeton homes of these battery banks at people's homes. And here is a graph of the solar installations in Princeton since 2005. Currently, there's 312 solar installations in Princeton at individual homes. Well, and commercial properties. Now getting back to how community solar works. So a solar array is installed in a suitable location, and we'll be able to find these in the New Jersey Community Solar Project Finder, which I'll demonstrate at the end of the presentation. And then a home or a business can subscribe and receive a credit on their utility bill. So each subscriber receives this bill credit on their utility bill for the participation in the community solar project. Here is an example of what residents are currently getting. So currently they're getting these two separate bills. They're getting a bill from the utility with their community solar credit shown on there. And then they're also getting a community solar invoice. You could see that this allows for a $10 savings. And you also can see that it's kind of confusing. So I'll continue on to just the example. So here's an example of what your utility bill would look like. You are charged for your regular utility usage, and then you also have that credit that appears on there. But then you'll also receive the community solar bill, which we have another program manager, Jenny's community solar bill on the next slide. So you could see the savings that you receive. You could see that Jenny has saved $329 since she's been enrolled for this. And on this statement alone, she's saved $20. And you could go ahead to the next slide. But in May 2024, consolidated billing will be required. So instead of getting these two separate bills, subscribers will just receive one bill. This is great news for low to moderate income households because one, they may not have the money in their account for the community solar bill and then have to wait until they get that credit. And And then also because this allows the municipal to have an opt-out program. So if there's a municipally sponsored opt-out program, this way we could automatically enroll these low to moderate income households to be subscribed in this project. Of course, with this consolidated billing to make it less confusing and so that they don't have to have savings. So I'm going to demonstrate the Community Solar Project Finder. So you could just search up New Jersey Community Solar Project Finder and type in your zip code. And then you'll see you have all the information here. You get different project names, and you'll also see if they're operational or not, when they're projected to be operational, as well as the links to all of their websites. So you're able to go to their website, see how much savings you could get, and if it's interesting to you. Sustainable Princeton has also put together some great resources for you to call up these projects and get more information. And yeah, they also have frequently asked question pages with those example bills on there as well. And I don't know if Christine, you want to point out anything else? in
Sorry,
regards
but
to
the way the screen is when I'm sharing, I can't see everything on the screen to find the tip sheets.
The tip sheet I also have in the PowerPoint if you want.
Okay, I'll go back to the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so yeah, I have a tip sheet and also a community solar fact sheet. So this has all the information we went over in today's slides. And then the next one, you have a list of questions that you may want answered when you're considering this community solar project. Next, we also just have what the future holds for solar. So they're constantly innovating, and there's things such as solar shingles. So it blends more into a roof. And then there's also going to be, within the next 5 years, I think it will be more available, the rollable and printable solar cell made from perovskite. And normally they're made from silicone cells. So this is a much more bendable material, and I think even walk-onable material. And that's all we have for you today.
Well, that was really interesting. So I'll open this up for questions. Does anyone have questions about this program? Yeah, Tom, you're on mute.
Actually, a preferable way for some, I'm sure, that I'm muted. Thank you so much for a very stimulating and inspiring presentation. This is kind of the wave of the future, isn't it?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of potential here. Let me just barrel through my series of questions and see how we do. Do I understand then that a community solar arrangement like this would be powered, let's say, off of solar panels that we would put in Princeton, or are we tapping into a network of other solar arrays around the state?
It's more of the latter. So the idea is a solar developer applies to the Board of Public Utilities to install a community solar project, and they can be small, so they can be, just serving 10 households, or they can be very large, up to 5 megawatts. So that could be a couple of warehouse roofs, rooftops. To subscribe to a community solar project, you just have to be in the same utility territory. So we are in PSE&G's utility territory. So a resident in Princeton could only subscribe to a community solar project somewhere within the territory. That's
pretty
why.
Pretty big territory. So we would have a whole choice of outfits to subscribe to. Is that it?
Correct.
Okay.
So PSE&G territory is basically the Route 1 corridor from Trenton all the way up to New York City. And there are a lot of warehouse spaces and a lot of, places where larger solar projects can be sited. It could be in Princeton. We just don't have any really good place to put a community solar project of scale. I mean, a House of Faith could put a solar array on its project and make it a community solar project and have its subscribers be some of their constituents, and a portion of it is allowed to offset their utility, their electricity usage. But by and large, this community solar projects that are getting approved and installed are the larger 3 megawatts, 5 megawatt projects. So
Makes sense. There needs to be some scale here.
exactly.
You mentioned that low and middle income families could achieve even a higher percentage of savings through this arrangement. How would they do that to this particular group?
So so a couple things. When the state of New Jersey, actually, I'm going to take a little step back. So what we're currently under are the pilot program rules for the community solar program. The BPU has its final program rules out there in a straw proposal. It's expected that they will vote on the permanent program rules at their next meeting in August. And the final program rules are more than likely to keep the requirement that exists now that all installed capacity of community solar projects, 51% of all installed capacity must serve low and moderate income households. And so they kind of have to put that into the rules so that there is going to be enough of, there are going to be enough projects that seek to find low moderate income household subscribers.
Understood.
So
Is this something? Sorry.
In terms, your question about like, will they get how much of a bill credit will they get? Right now, when you're looking, we saw that website, there's about 21% is kind of the highest bill credit for a non-LMI customer. You kind of have to go through the process to figure out what they give for an LMI, but I don't think they can give them anything less. The municipally sponsored type of program that Alex mentioned is something that the BPU is going to allow, and that's where a local government like Princeton can solicit for requests for proposals from a community solar developer to develop a project somewhere in our territory and have all subscribers be low and moderate income households if you do an automatic enrollment. But that can't happen until they have consolidated billing, which the BPU has told the utilities you would have to have them implemented by next year.
And presumably that low and moderate auto enrollment would come with some authorization from the affected low and middle income families or whatever to be automatically enrolled, right?
Right. So the way they've proposed the rules is that to allow for an automatic enrollment, there has to be a 90-day window to do the community engagement. It's very similar to energy aggregation, which is rules that are in place now for the state.
So you contemplate some community engagement for that.
Right. You have to show what your community engagement plan is going to be. You have to get support of your affordable housing organizations to participate in that community engagement. And when you cut out the subscription, the customer acquisition costs, you can get an even higher bill credits.
Okay.
So it can be higher than 21%, 25%, because one of the biggest parts of that's chipping away at your bill credit is customer acquisition for community solar.
Well, that would be a challenge, right? Because everybody has to run around and try to scramble to subscribe to all these various places, which begs the question, the last two of which I'd like to ask. Are you contemplating that Sustainable Princeton will act as an aggregator or as a proxy or front person agency to help Princeton residents get into such things?
Just really through education outreach, by making people aware of that platform where you can search for projects that are looking for subscribers using our toolkit. We're not advocating on behalf of one community solar developer over another for the general population. We will be helping the municipality through the process of potentially finding a community, doing an RFP process to find someone that would do a municipally sponsored program.
Mhm.
But for non-LMI, we've been out there, telling people, because right now people are getting mailings right now from these community solar developers looking for subscribers.
Yeah.
And so we know that there's a need for some community education. One, to let people know these are legitimate. And how you can go about choosing between one project or another.
So there are a lot of, sounds like municipal collaboration opportunities within Mercer County, some of the wealthier communities working with the lesser well-off to develop good things here for Mercer. My final question
Yep.
is, are you aware then, I'm not completely familiar with all the economics, but I suppose we're still in the phase of trying to drive down individual costs in a high cost new technology. What do we know what percentage of all this that would achieve the reduced cost for the ultimate consumer is being subsidized either by the state or the federals?
Well, in the state of New Jersey, the way they incentivize solar is through the it's called ADI, the ADI, the administratively determined incentive. So community solar projects, residential rooftop projects, larger scale product, I think it's up to 5 megawatts for commercial, all just get a set rate for the renewable energy certificates. It used to be a SREC program, but now it's just you get a certain amount. I do not know off the top of my head what that ultimately results in an increase to the ratepayers, how much of that is borne by ratepayers, everybody who pays a utility bill. There's always that tension between the state's rate council and the Board of Public Utilities. Anytime they want to implement some type of new program or things to reduce emissions from our electricity and natural gas usage, they have to prove how this is going to, what this means in terms of potentially raising electricity rates. I don't know the portion off the top of my head. But there are the federal incentives. So the investment tax credit still exists for solar projects. So you get revenue off of 3 things. You get the investment tax credits, you get the sale of the electricity, and you get the value of the new SRECs, the ADIs.
Yeah. Well, thank you for putting up with all my many questions and for your very elaborate and instructive answers. Thank you.
Sure.
So next person is Christine, and then David, and then Elizabeth. Okay, so go ahead, Christine.
Thank you. I really appreciate hearing about this to Ms. Symington and Ms. Still, because I find that all of this is a bit complicated and hard to understand, and I really appreciate learning more, and I hope to learn even more. I have 2 questions. The Ms. Still did talk about the perovsky,
Perovskite.
right, whatever. Are they lighter? Because I know that this is an issue talking to roofers, that sometimes people put solar panels on their roofs and they collapse, or there's movement. And so I'm just wondering if the industry is going towards lighter panels.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the hope, and things that are less, they blend in more with the sort of the natural roofscape. In terms of weight, I don't know. I assume it's lighter because you don't have the rack, like the mounting rack. And all of it really depends on whatever the dollar cost is per kilowatt hour. It has to compete with everything else. So, it's early days for those types of technologies. We put that in there because thinking, the Historic Preservation Commission, you might want to know like where things are going in terms of what solar is going to look like in the future. So it wouldn't, interfere with the neighborhood character in a historic district. It's hard to say how much lighter they are, but if you're going to install anything on your roof, you should make sure it's in good condition so that it wouldn't cause any damage.
Have heard that Tesla is actually making like solar roofs.
Yeah, I think the picture that Alex included was a solar shingle. I've gotten mailers for those, even though I rent, so I can't choose to put solar on my rooftops. But it's an area that, we're going to be looking more into. It's like, where is the technology and what are the cost, and what's the practicality of having those solar tiles or solar shingles in our area?
My second question is that we keep getting in the mail these solicitations that say you sign up for this, all you have to do is sign and you will get a lower bill. And I'm sort of dubious about this, and I'm just wondering if you could address that, because I think other people might
Sure.
be getting that.
Yeah, those are probably solicitations from what are third-party electricity suppliers. I get one almost every day in the mail from Clean Choice Energy. They are basically looking to have you switch your electricity supply from PSE&G to them. You're still getting the same power coming. The power coming into your house is coming from the same grid delivered by PSE&G, who has to maintain all the wires. It's really what they're really doing is they are matching up your electricity consumption with renewable energy certificates, probably from the generation of renewable energy from wind farms out in the middle Midwest. And what they often do is a little bit of a bait and switch. They'll say, we'll get you on, for 12 months, you'll pay 11 cents per kilowatt hour, 12 cents, which will save you this much from PSE&G, and you'll be getting clean energy vis-a-vis these RECs. And then after 18 months, they increase it to like 22, 23, 24 cents per, and then you're actually paying more. So our advice is, that's one of the reasons why we work with the municipality to have an energy aggregation program where you go out and you procure the electricity supply product from someone that you can designate. You could say, we want it to be made up of PJM class 1 RECs, renewable RECs, which is, we know are RECs from our local grid, which are from renewable generation in our grid, and that you knew what it was going to be the contract was for 18 months. And you knew exactly what the rate was going to be. And so my advice is to throw them out. You're right. It is a little dubious in how they've been marketing to people.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, David, you are next.
Great. Thank you for this presentation. I think the leadership you guys are giving the community on this is just terrific, and that especially since there's a focus on helping to guide the low and moderate income households. That's really stellar. Our interest, or I guess, I first started hearing about this as a member of our subcommittee on the master plan and trying to figure out the various different things that would help support historic preservation efforts in Princeton. And one of our challenges is when people come to us and say, oh, I have this beautiful Queen Anne house with a very decorative roof, but I want to put solar panels on top of it. And I don't even think it's going to match the sides or the shape or anything. It's just, I need to have this. I think I should have it. And then we have to review it. And it puts us in a sticky situation where a lot of us on the commission are also people that care about, or I think all of us, about the environment, all those things, in addition to our challenges with historic preservation. And we want to be consistent with some of our other practices of just trying to help people who come before us with any kind of application have some decent alternatives that we can point to. Sometimes they don't know about window restoration sources or different kinds of materials that could be used. And we'd really like to be able to say to people, here is another option for getting a greener existence, using solar power. In some of our neighborhoods in town, they're very densely populated. There is still the argument about the value of trees versus the value of how much sun you can collect, right? And then there's just places where it just doesn't seem to fit right. So how can we help people? So our interest was how do we find another alternative? But hearing a little bit, and what I just praised you about the low and mod stuff, how do we find something for the households that don't qualify there but are interesting? Is there another way to get a solar collective put together that wouldn't have the same rules or would be accessible to these other households?
So any household can subscribe to a community solar project in our
Okay.
territory. So yeah, the state has only said, well, we need to make sure this is enough is going to be assisting reducing the electricity burden of our low moderate income households. So
Okay.
only 51% of installed capacity has to serve low moderate income households. So the other 49% is everybody else, right? Anybody else who is a renter, can't afford the upfront cost, or doesn't qualify for a solar, has a lot of shade trees and doesn't want to cut down the trees. So this is a solution for people who want to participate in the solar, by participating in solar and having a portion of their electricity usage offset by an actual solar array in in the PSEG territory. But I think also one thing that we're looking to do even more than we have in the past is promote energy efficiency of all the buildings, because the more efficient your building is, the smaller if you are going to do rooftop solar, the smaller that array needs to be. I don't know if it would reduce it to such that, you would only need panels on the back of the house that wouldn't be viewable from the street as to conform with, HPC. But it should, and something I know that this commission has advocated for a lot is, make your building as efficient as possible before you, even think about solar, because you're just oversizing the solar if your house is inefficient.
Right. And then that sometimes ends up with the kind of unattractive installations that the engineer says you need this many square feet or however it's calculated. Very good. And actually that relates to one more thing in our master plan is we're calling for trying to have more outreach and education in the community about good building practices, where to find some of these solutions. And maybe we partner and talk about what's of interest and seen as good for the sustainability can also be smart things to do with buildings while people are working on it. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good opportunities here and look forward to a future. Thank you.
Great.
You're very
Okay,
welcome.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Elizabeth, you've had your hand up for a while.
Thank you. And thank you to Sustainable Princeton for coming. What's very interesting, about 3 weeks ago, I got something in the email which had to talk about community solar just by coincidence, and very similar to what you showed. And you answered a lot of questions, which had to do with, I thought maybe you had to be a certain distance from where that source was. So it's great to know that we have all of PSE&G territory. So some of the questions I have is, how do they determine how much usage they will provide for you? Is it very similar to if you want to put up a solar system, they look at your old electric bills for a year and say, okay, this is how much seems to be the average of how much you use. So we're not going to allow you to do more than that.
No, it's
How
a
do you
little,
determine that?
yeah, it's a little bit different. So they will tell you what the bill credit is. So like the ones we showed you that are looking for subscribers right now, it's 21% bill credit. That's for all. I don't know what the rates are they offering for LMI because they were just showing for non-LMI. That's it. So whatever your usage is, it's 21%.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not how much that they're gonna provide you the green energy. Okay. And then the other thing is when you talk about there are all these companies and we really have to go onto the website to kind of read about it and determine, I mean, obviously there's some that are going to give you a better credit than the others, some that are much more reputable than others, I would assume, like any other business. How do you determine? And is it
Yeah.
the larger companies that you're usually going to get a better return, or is it their reputation, or,
That's a really good question. That's kind of why we put that little questionnaire together, like things you should ask or consider. One of the things, since this is kind of new, who's rising to the top as the community solar developers that are, getting most of the market share? The first pilot program round, there were lots of different people, trying to putting in proposals. And there seem to be a couple of names that are winning most of the projects. But because this is sort of regulated by the Board of Public Utilities, they had to meet certain criteria in order to get approved. And many of them had to have like actual permits in place. They had to show that they were shovel ready, and show that they had a plan to get subscribers. In the pilot program year 1 and pilot program year 2, which those approved projects are the ones you're seeing when you look through that list, they also got prioritized if they showed that they had other types of community benefits, like they were going to do green infrastructure around the project, that they were going to have local workforce development. So they got extra points for that. The permanent program is really going to come down to who's offering the best bill credit. That's what's going to be a tiebreaker in the permanent program. You don't get extra points for other things. It's just it's really based on whether you meet the minimum criteria. So I don't know. It doesn't really answer your question to say like, are there some that are reputable and not reputable? If they're taking subscriptions now, they have done enough to actually have a real project. And if you look, you'll see a couple of the same developers. Solar Landscape is one. They have a lot of projects because they are affiliated with a property manager group that owns a lot of warehouses. So they have the sites that are ideal for community solar projects. Altus is another one. I think Brightcore. I don't know. Sorry, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there are a few that are have many projects.
Okay.
And if I could just add to like the project finder, you don't have to go to every single website for all of the stuff. Like it does show the customer savings right on there, so that you could compare on there. And then the contract term is on there. So
Yeah.
there's a few things where you don't have to visit every website.
Yeah, and everyone I've seen doesn't have a penalty for early withdrawal. Like if you decide to go to another project or you move out of the PSEG territory, or if for whatever reason you want to cancel, it looks like most of them don't have a cancellation fee.
And so that was another question. I didn't know if there was a contract that comes with it, like, Verizon, you have to stay with us for a year before you can leave. So typically there is no contract with them at this time, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen any that have any minimum terms or early penalties.
Okay, and just to let you know, actually HPC had an application that used the Tesla solar tiles.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Of Stockton and Edge Hill.
I didn't look that up.
They selected it because they thought it looked like slate. It doesn't. It just looks shiny. And actually, we got a sample and it's very heavy, and it's probably twice the amount of regular solar. However, it is the roof itself. I mean, it doesn't sit on top of slate, it doesn't sit on top of asphalt. It is the roof itself. But at the same time, we do know that it's not as efficient, but it looks better.
We'll follow up on that.
Well, they came back to us and for a regular roof, if you remember.
Yeah, they said the lead times were too long,
Yeah.
and they went back and got a regular roof.
Yeah.
So Roger, you have a question, and then Christine after Roger.
If you want to be skeptical, Tesla's been over-promising for, half a dozen years. I have yet to see a real project of theirs. No, I was going to raise the point that you're not locked into any kind of contract, and I wonder why Jenny doesn't go for 6% more savings somewhere. I saw.
I'm in a 15% project. So I go, yeah,
Yeah, no, it's just sort of the best of both worlds. You could be building your own array or contemplating putting an array on your house while you're saving 20%. It's kind of the deal, like with more education, you think that everybody would be latching onto this. It's a great deal for consumers and better for the environment. That was really all. The other thing I was thinking about it, I looked through the list online, and in terms, it's bewildering in terms of how would you select one project over another. And I happened to come across a couple of places where I recognized the address. I knew the kind of neighborhood the facility was in, and that was comforting to me. I said, "Oh, yeah, I go with that because I can I know where it is. It's maybe a lower middle income neighborhood that could benefit from whatever employment this place is providing." Maybe I'm making that up, but it just seemed like there are little hooks that you can grab onto that would help you make
Yeah.
it.
I think that is required, that they have to tell you where the project is. You have to know where it's physically located, which I think that does help you feel physically connected, because all right, I'm helping, I help to fund that project and I'm getting the benefits of that, and I'm helping to displace fossil fuels from our grid.
Great. Christine, you had another question?
Yes, I just wanted to thank Roger for arranging this. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It was Christine's suggestion.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, Tom?
May I have another one?
Yeah.
Great, this is very stimulating. Have we thought about it all, then the additional cost to consumers of the actual batteries, and then the challenge of sourcing the precious metals from places like China that will be needed to participate in these kinds of things, especially for low and middle income families?
Yeah, that is a very good question. I mean, the materials to create the solar panels is an extractive industry, and the batteries is for the lithium for the batteries and other metals for batteries is extractive. The Inflation Reduction Act, which if you're not familiar with, you should get familiar with. It's a major piece of legislation that puts a lot of carrots out there to help reduce the cost to transition to a green economy. And they have some provisions in there that require that lithium and other precious metals have to come from more local sources. That is good in some ways, but we have to do this very mindfully so that we are not adding burdens to those communities or those countries, like countries in South America or Central America, where the lithium is, and those indigenous communities. So we have an opportunity to do things in a way that would try to ensure that those communities reap the benefits of providing these critical materials, and to be less reliant on China and on these materials. So that was a key part of the Inflation Reduction Act. The good thing about lithium is it is very, very recyclable. You can reuse it and reuse it a lot. So going hand in hand in all this needs to be the structures to recycle the lithium and continue use it in other applications. It is very recyclable, so it can be used for a long, long time when it comes to use for the batteries. And that was, one of the reasons where we wanted to show the difference between, why community solar versus actually putting rooftop solar. If you're trying to go all electric and be able to stay having power when the power goes out, the solar battery storage with your electric vehicle, you basically created your own little mini grid. And the one picture we showed of the Tesla Powerwall, that was actually someone, they're not quite in Princeton, they're just outside of Princeton. And they told me, how when the power went out, they had plenty of power just running off what was stored in the battery. I did have a question for you guys about EV charging, and have you gotten any applications, or does it require to go in front of HPC if someone wants to put a charging station on the side of their house if they have, or their driveway is, in the front or on the side of the house and they want to put a charger to charge their electric vehicle.
I mean, the planning board has had multiple applications where we've weighed in, not specifically on that, but as far as just HPC, I don't think we've had anything specifically with maybe with some of the apartment buildings.
Yeah,
Right.
it was usually in conjunction with the development. They didn't come in just for that. I know that we had, they talked about having electric vehicles. And then they were going to have charging stations, but they didn't come in just for that. It was part of a whole development package.
Yeah. So if it was a single family home or a duplex in a historic district and they wanted to put a charger on like the side and it was viewable from the street, would they have to get approved by you?
They would.
Yeah. Okay. Because what I was thinking is, listening in the earlier part of the meeting where somebody didn't get approvals, was perhaps we could work together on doing business in Princeton. If you're a solar installer and EV charger installer, here's what you need to know. Here's a checklist of what you need to know when it comes to historic districts and the town as a whole. Here's what you should know if you're going to be doing business in Princeton. Here's the permitting process. That's something we could do when it comes to solar and for installing EV charging stations. That's an ideal we proposed to municipality to help put something together to put on the municipal website.
That'd be great. I mean, my seat of the pants sense is that people have installed these things in historic districts and we have no idea. Fairly unobtrusive, and they may be so high tech that people are not conflating them with historic preservation in some strange way. It's like the electric company putting a new condenser on the side, or a new electric box on the side of the house.
And I've actually seen a few in historic parking, in homes, in the garden. I'm sorry, not the garden, in the yards, or the driveway, but it does not look like, it almost looks like a hose, like a water hose. So it's not offensive in any way, so I don't.
These gray areas, or it's an area that we really haven't dealt with to any great degree. So any help we could get in terms of contacting the installers, electricians, whoever's going to put these things in, that'd be great.
I have a question for you, Christine. On one of the slides, I saw like a whole battery thing inside of the home. Is that part of the agreement, the solar agreement? Is that part of the package, part of the cost?
Yeah, that was Michael Palusek's house. So we're working with the Environmental Commission to have a green home tour in September. And he's going to be one of the homes on the tour. And he does have I don't remember the name of the company. This is what he does for his day job. So it might be his own company that battery storage. Yeah, it's not a Tesla Powerwall. It's another setup that he has.
That
Right.
15 or 20% reduction in cost, though, to the electrical user probably doesn't include the cost of acquiring and maintaining those batteries, does it?
Yeah, for his particular, I don't know off the top of my head what, he's not subscribing to community solar projects. He has solar and he has an two electric vehicles, and his house is all electric and induction stove, and he's got the battery backup, and he knows the financials and how he also has geothermal. So he has ground source heat pumps. So
He's not exactly low and middle income guy.
Yeah, I would say it's a very modest house, and he's very economical. So I'll see if I can pull up what he's sent me many times how he has figured out his return on investment. So I know he's done the math. I just don't know the math off the top of my head.
Tom, that's one of the disadvantages of, if it is a disadvantage of community solar, no batteries. You're just
Yeah.
getting it off the grid.
Yeah,
can't-
unless you have installed batteries yourself, right?
Yeah, but you'd have to then pay for the
Charge
electric.
it from something, yeah.
Yeah, so that increases the cost to the consumer ultimately, but never mind, I mean, these are all hurdles that have to be gotten to and overcome and can be done, it's part of the whole process as we go electric.
Survivalists who want to fill your batteries from PSE&G.
Survivalists. Back
there's
to
a-
Boston.
There's a huge amount of areas in Princeton that are covered with trees where it doesn't make any sense at all to have solar panels, but you want to participate. So I think this is just great for
Yeah.
us to know about. We really appreciate it. Anything else? If not, we really appreciate you coming in and we'll spread
Yeah, I
the
have a
word. Now
question. I
we're-
have a
yeah, oh,
question.
Shirley's got-
Yeah.
Hey,
You
Shirley.
had mentioned that we could connect maybe with one of the houses of worship. What about, let's say, if the Arts Council or another building in an area had these solar panels, could we connect to that particular establishment?
So then it becomes a question, should they use that solar array to offset their own electricity usage? And I mean, they could decide to have that rooftop array be a community solar project where individuals could subscribe to it. But it would probably make better sense for them to use all of that array to offset their own electricity usage. So that's why warehouses and landfills make a lot better sense for community solar, because they have almost no or very little electricity demand, but they're generating all this capacity. And so they need someone to offtake it. And it makes sense for someone to offtake that who can install solar. So yes, technically you could put solar on the Arts Council and have it be a community solar project, but it would probably make better sense just to have them offset their own electricity with it. And they probably couldn't put enough panels to offset all their electricity. So it would just be a portion that they probably want to keep for their own savings. So like a Houses of Faith could do that if they wanted to. And why that might make sense for House of Faith is if the building's not occupied all the time. And therefore you could generate more electricity with the solar array and, because of their mission, and they could, share it with perhaps some people. There are some projects that did get approved that I think might have been on a church roof, but it's kind of like weighing two really good options and deciding which good option you want to go with.
Thanks for your
Yep.
presentation also. Thanks.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Shirley.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was fascinating. It's
Great.
great.
All right.
Cutting edge.
Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Bye.
wait, anyone
Christine.
in the public with their hands up? Just checking?
No,
No?
hands are up.
Does
'Cause
this mean we're now
we're-
we're the Historic and Future Preservation Commission?
Yeah. So we are on that public comment time, so I just want to make sure we can see if there's anyone with questions. So any public comment out there? No?
No
Just
hands.
want to thank Christine for coming out. Good job.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
One attendee other than ourselves.
That's great. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, bye. All right, so we're on to staff reports, member reports, anything else we want to go through other than that? Or,
Madam Chair, I'd just like to mention that the doodle is out for the retreat. So those people who did not respond, if they could do that, that would be great.
all right, so thanks. And remember, the August meeting is the 14th, we think.
Right, I'll
So-
confirm with the attorney to make sure their team is good for that.
So
Right,
you
so
want us to
we'll,
save you want us to save all the materials for the Prospect Avenue? Okay.
yeah, so 13 Prospect on August 14th, hopefully. All right, well, thanks, everybody. Really appreciate your time.
Good to see
We'll see
you
you, we'll see you in August.
Thank you.
So,
So,
Have a good day. Good evening.
thank you. See you, Elizabeth.
Bye, Shirley.
Bye, Leighton Pooh.